Hi there, and welcome to the new CEO. This week we're talking about remote leadership, and specifically the things that your remote team members want you to know but aren't telling you. If we haven't met, I'm Dr. Natalie Underdown, an organizational psychologist and executive coach who helps purpose-driven leaders create greater impact, revenue, and work-life alignment. If your business used to be in person but has been remote for the past 6 months or so as we've all navigated this coronavirus pandemic, you've probably gotten into the swing of things regarding remote work. But what we're talking about today isn't about whether you're in the swing of things. It's about remote leadership, and it's about your team members. And your team members may be feeling certain things that they're simply not expressing because times are tough, they're grateful to have a job, and they don't want to ruffle any feathers. It's important that you know what these things are, though, because it's your job as a leader to keep them engaged and to get the very best out of them, and you can't do that if you don't know how they're feeling. So here are 3 things that your team probably wants you to know, but that they aren't telling you. The first is that they're wondering how they're being evaluated in this new normal. If you've gone through furloughs, layoffs, have reduced headcount in any way, they're probably now doing their old job plus several other jobs. Because you see them less or only through Zoom, they're wondering not only if you know how hard they're working, but if at any point they're going to be acknowledged or get credit, so to speak, for all of this extra effort. And so communicating your expectations around workload as well as how they're going to be evaluated and when that's going to happen is really important right now. Also, if you haven't looked at your performance review process, you should. Does it still make sense for this new normal and this remote work environment? How are you giving your team a chance to share what they're working on, their wins, their challenges? The second thing your team wants you to know is that they're losing steam and they need you to help keep them motivated and engaged. Here are some ways to do that. Get clear on what, when, and how. So you want to tell them what work needs to get done, the deliverables, and what the ground rules are. When is all about when work is due, deadlines, and expectations for when they need to be on or available online. The how is how you expect them to work together, how their specific tasks or projects are connected to the larger whole, how their performance is being evaluated, like we just talked about, and how they work best. So asking your team members how they work best and what they need from you builds relationships with them, and it gives you insight into what they need. Also, goals are good. So create short-term goals, like very short-term goals if you need to, if things are changing rapidly and you've had to pivot. Even goals for the week give your team members a chance to move forward towards something tangible, celebrate when they achieve those goals, and feel a little bit more accomplished. This is really important in remote work environments. When you have clear goals, you're able to allow team members more choice and autonomy on how the work gets done. Shift your focus to completion of work rather than number of hours worked. And then lastly, create communication norms. When you create ground rules around how to use different communication channels like Slack, Zoom, text, phone, you can help your employees know what to use when and avoid feeling bombarded by technology. The drop-in video conference is one of the worst offenders in terms of bombarding your employees with technology, and it'll just exhaust and actively disengage your team. So don't do drop-in video conferences. You need to give them notice when they have to be on Zoom. That said, Zoom video conferencing or any type of video conferencing really is a great way to be able to see facial expressions, pick up on nonverbal cues, and so it is recommended as opposed to just phone calls or just email. Also, start your meetings with informal check-ins. Ask how people are doing. Reference what's going on in the world right now. Let them know, be vulnerable, share what you're experiencing. So also one-on-one meetings are critical during this time. So those are all ways to really engage and motivate your team while you're working remotely. Then the third thing that your team wants you to know is that sometimes they need your explicit encouragement to take time out for mindfulness and self-care during the day. This may seem obvious to you that if they need to take a break from the screen, it's totally fine to go outside and take a mindful moment, but it may not be obvious to them. As a remote leader, you really need to over-communicate with your team. And if mindfulness is a priority to you and you want it to be a priority for them, which, by the way, hopefully you do, you need to tell them. So here are some ideas that you can incorporate to keep mindfulness top of mind in your remote culture. Send calendar invites with reminders to take mindful moments for gratitude, a walk outside, meditation, or even a break to stretch. Create a morning routine and evening routine Slack channel for your team, and they can share ideas around what's working for them, products they like, what their routines look like. Offer short grounding meditations at the beginning of staff meetings or all-hand meetings. They don't have to be long. Even a few minutes is a really great way to bring everyone into the room and center their energy, get them focused, and let them know that you're making mindfulness a priority. You can also have other team members share how they incorporate mindfulness into their days and then encourage that communication amongst everyone else so people can then start sharing what works for them. All right, if you liked any of these ideas and would appreciate even more, they're all included in an 18-page remote leadership playbook that we created, and it's available to you for free. So check out the show notes below for a link to that free playbook. And if you'd like to dive deeper into this conversation, I hope you'll join me and my co-host, Bindi Belanger, in part 2 of this episode, as we'll be talking about more about what your team wants but may not be telling you. See you soon.